In the world of Lego Star Wars, I think battle packs are one of, if not the most popular and most sought after product that Lego makes in that category. And that's why it just felt right to make a top 10 best battle packs of all time list. So here we go. And just real quick before we begin, of course, this list is going to be subjective, but I will base my decisions around the build in the battle pack, the quality and the selection of the minifigures in the battle pack, and also something that I think is underrated: when this battle pack was released and what other sets it works with. And without further ado, starting off this list, we have on number 10 the Kashyyyk Troopers Battle Pack. And this one is amazing for many reasons. Of course, the minifigures are basically perfect in my opinion. It's a very good selection of minifigures, a good balance 50-50 between the sort of scout troopers and the regular Kashyyyk troopers, which just looks amazing. And of course, the build is also pretty decent. I mean, it's a decently sized speeder and it works really well for this battle pack. But the only thing that holds this battle pack back, and it's the only reason why it's on number 10 and not higher, are the weapons. Because these have stud shooter weapons instead of the regular blasters that Lego Star Wars usually includes. And yeah, this was just one of the things that Lego decided to include in all the battle packs in this era, and it really brings this one down. But other than that, it's an amazing battle pack. And now for spot number 9, we have the Imperial Troop Transport Battle Pack. And this one just edges out the number 10 spot for me, just because it includes four exactly the same figures in these Stormtroopers. And by the way, these Stormtroopers, in my opinion, are the best Lego has ever made. They don't have this weird, sort of oversized, bulky looking Family Guy ass helmets that the newer ones have. They look perfect to me. And yes, the blue on the side doesn't really bother me. So they come in at number 9. And the reason why I think having four minifigures of the same kind in one battle pack is actually better is because it's an army builder. And if you want to build an army, the best way and the cheapest way for a kid, especially, to build that army is to have four of the exact minifigures in a battle pack. Now, that being said, even though I love this battle pack, the build in this battle pack does not look good at all, in my opinion. It really doesn't make much sense to have a downscaled version of something bigger in a battle pack, to me at least, unless it's in scale with something bigger that already exists. But yeah, this doesn't really make sense to me. However, the pieces are pretty nice pieces that you can use to build some sort of like rocky terrain, so it doesn't bring it down too much for me. Now getting into the number 8 spot, we have the Hoth Rebel Trooper Battle Pack from, I believe, 2010, which honestly, despite the minifigures being a little bit less detailed, especially in the legs, they don't really have leg printing, they still hold up today and they still look really, really good. And I think the selection of minifigures is great as well, with one of those orange ones and then the rest being the more beige color, which is, of course, fits into any sort of Hoth mock, for example. The build itself is also quite clean looking, of course, mostly white to match the Hoth setting, and has a nice turret to it, which I like. And the main reason why these are better than the ones before for me are, of course, the weapons. I'm sure you could have guessed that because they just look so much better than those stud shooters before. So yeah, that's number 8. Now coming to the number 7 spot, we have another Rebel Trooper Battle Pack. It's the Rebel Scout Speeder Battle Pack. Kind of a weird name, but either way, it's a great battle pack, especially for the time. It's one of the oldest to ever exist. And I mean, the figures still hold up, in my opinion. And once again, there's no leg printing, which is kind of a bummer, but I think it doesn't really matter because these are kind of like the most basic Rebel Troopers you can have in an army. So I think this is totally fine. And the build in this set, in my opinion, is one of the best ever. I mean, the speeder itself is a decent size and has some big pieces in it, and is also really nicely printed, which is great. But as well as that, it has this little tower on top that you can detach from the speeder and just use on its own with the turret on top. I mean, that is one of the best play features on a little build for a battle pack that I've ever seen. So this definitely deserves the number 7 spot. Now for the number 6 spot, we once again have another Rebel Trooper battle pack. I do apologize for having 3 in a row, but this one is just a bit better than the ones before, in my opinion. Yes, they don't have the better weapons. They have the those bulky looking stud shooters once again, which does suck. But The minifigures in this battle pack are fantastic. They have printing on the legs, which the other ones don't, and the overall aesthetic of the minifigures is amazing. They are all different, which I know I said is a bad thing for battle packs, but in this case, it makes a lot of sense because they're rebel troopers, so they don't have one specific uniform that all of them wear. So it's actually a really good thing that they all have different outfits in slightly different colors, so you can mix and match them if you buy multiple. And then the builds in this battle pack are also fantastic. The speeder, this dark green color, looks really nice, but it's also in scale with the minifigures, which is something that Lego doesn't do all too often. And then the other build is kind of like a side build, but also is very useful for mocks, for example, because it's basically like a little bit of rubble that you can stack up with a turret behind it, and that honestly looks amazing in any mock. So this is number 6. Now coming in at number 5, we have the Mandalorian battle pack from 2011, and again, this one doesn't have any leg printing on any of the minifigures, and the builds, to be honest, are a little weaker than the ones before. However, I just picked it here because it's such a unique battle pack that Lego only has done twice. They only made 2 Mandalorian battle packs in the past, and so this one is the better one of the two, in my opinion, because they're all the same again. So you can actually build a proper army with them, and they still hold up pretty well nowadays. Maybe not perfect, but I think this battle pack is still unique and good enough to deserve number 5. Now we're getting into the top 4 in this list, and this is one of my favorite battle packs of all time, but it's probably a very hot take to be this high in a list like this. It's the 332nd Ahsoka's Clone Trooper battle pack, and I know what you're saying. These minifigures are not perfect at all. They have holes in the helmet where they shouldn't be. They don't have perfect printing either. And there's a named character in this Lego set, which doesn't make sense, of course, for battle packs. The reason why I still put this high is because the named character, being Captain Vaughn, is extremely similar to the other troopers in this battle pack, which, yes, you could see as a bad thing because they kind of butchered him as a minifigure, but I see it as a pro because you can easily just mistake him or, actively make him into one of the normal 332nd troopers by just taking off his visor. Then the only difference is that little tiny detail on his chest, which is barely visible from like 1 or more meters apart from this minifigure. And so I think this is almost perfect because you can buy multiple of these, still have one of them be the Captain Vaughn, and then the rest be just regular troopers. Plus, they come with their jetpacks, which looks pretty nice. And the build is just a better version of the same swamp speeder in a slightly different color than the one in the Kashyyyk Trooper battle pack, in my opinion. So, a really good battle pack. Now we're getting into the top 3 of this list, and for top 3, I put the Droids Battle Pack, which is, again, is one of the oldest battle packs Lego has ever made. But the reason why this is here, I think, is pretty obvious. This battle pack doesn't have 4 minifigures in it; it has 7 minifigures at the same price of $15, which, adjusted for inflation, is closer to $20. But yeah, this battle pack is one of the best ever. I think the build is decent enough, but I think the fact that it just has so many droids in it just speaks for itself. Yeah, definitely top 3 worthy. And now, coming in at the number 2 spot on this list, it's maybe another hot take because it isn't a Clone Wars battle pack. Actually, I picked the 2021 Hoth Trooper battle pack for this spot. And yes, that might be a hot take, but I think this battle pack is the perfect battle pack, and there's only one better ever, which of course is the number 1 spot, which you'll find out soon. But this one is amazing, in my opinion, just because the minifigures, first of all, are perfect. I think the minifigure selection is also perfect. The detail is amazing with the printing and the dual molded helmet, and the builds is just, yeah, it's amazing in my opinion. First of all, the speeder is the perfect scale for a speeder because it works very, very well with other Hoth sets, and it isn't oversized or downsized. So yeah, also very detailed. Plus, you get that extra little build made of some white bricks, which of course looks perfect in any Hoth mock. And let's be honest, if you're buying a lot of battle packs to build out an army, especially for Hoth, usually you're going to build some sort of mock to go with it, and these pieces are perfect for that. Plus, you get the little turret to go with it as well, which is amazing. And then the final reason why I think this deserves the number two spot is the timing of this release. I mean, this thing was released in the same year as the AT-AT playset, which is perfect because, of course, you can fill that out and have some more figures to play around with below it, or have those speeders flying around it and the turrets, and it's actually perfect for play. Plus, it came out in the same period of time as the AT-AT UCS set, which of course is perfect because that thing, even though it came with a bunch of minifigures, didn't have enough to fill it out completely. So if you wanted to display it with all of the minifigures inside it showing, then this battle pack was perfect for you. And now for the number one spot on this list, I'm sure you could have guessed what it is. We, of course, have the 2024 Clones and Battle Droids Battle Pack. I mean, I said the number two spot was perfect. This is beyond perfect. This thing is amazing for value, for example. I mean, yes, of course, it does cost more than $20, which is the usual price for Battle Packs. It costs $30 in this case, but it's still an amazing value because you get 9 minifigures in this thing. Yes, of course, some of those are B1 Battle Droids, but still 9 minifigures for $30. You can easily get this thing for less than 30 as well, but I digress. The minifigures, of course, are fantastic. You get 3 brand new designs for those B2 or Super Battle Droids. Then you have the regular B1 Battle Droids, and you have some Clone Troopers, which, yes, have the helmet holes again, but I still think look amazing, especially those shinies, because they don't have any printing issues or anything like that. But other than that, the builds for the droids are perfect as well, in my opinion. The stab looks amazing. Okay, maybe not perfect because it doesn't have any printing or a sticker to add that little detail in white, which is kind of disappointing, but other than that, it's very nice. And you have that tri-droid, which I can't really pronounce the full name of, but that's basically like a 10th minifigure to me because it looks really good and the scale is decent, even though it's not as big as, of course, it is supposed to be in the real Star Wars universe, but it still looks good for a battle pack build. And then, yes, the other builds for the clone troopers are extremely lackluster, very derpy and goofy looking. But that aside, the build overall is pretty good because you still have those 2 great builds for the droids, and the minifigures are amazing. So, definitely number one spot. And now, finally, now that you've seen my list, I just had to include a couple of honorable mentions because it just felt wrong not including these into the video at all. So, first of all, we have the OG Clone Trooper Battle Pack. I mean, maybe you were expecting this to make the top 10, but it is a classic. It's just very outdated, in my opinion, but still a great battle pack. And then we have the Utapau Troopers Battle Pack, which as well is, of course, a fan favorite. But for me, it didn't make the list just because the build is just not really that great, in my opinion, just because it's a downsized version of a bigger thing that doesn't really make sense to be in a battle pack for me. And the minifigures, while they are amazing, I generally don't think that there should be 2 whole airborne troopers in a battle pack, as there aren't that many airborne troopers around. So it should have been just one or none in this battle pack, in my opinion. Then we also have the Geonosis Troopers Battle Pack, which I personally really love, but it has a similar reason for not being on the list. First of all, the build has this really weird big turret thing on it, which is a great play function but doesn't look very good. And then, of course, the Airborne Troopers, 2 of them in a set, too much for me. And then we also have the Clone Walker Battle Pack, which again you might have expected to be on the list, but for me it doesn't make any sense to have a clone gunner in a battle pack, as you only see them every now and then in the Clone Wars. You don't really have an army of those, so for that reason it's here. And last but not least, we have the newer version of the Mandalorian Battle Pack, which for me just didn't make the list because you can't really army build with a battle pack like this, where every single one is super different in color and different patterns and everything. So for me, it didn't make the list for that reason, and also because they don't have the normal weapons that other battle packs include. And that being said, that concludes this entire list of all the top 10 battle packs in LEGO Star Wars. And I would be very grateful to hear your opinions on this list in the comments down below. And also, I did spend a ton of time on this video. Editing, especially, took a long time. And so, a subscribe or just a like at least would be very greatly appreciated. And I'll see you next time.